Today, I have chosen Chapter 2 from History, that is Geographical Features and Prehistoric India. In the last class, we discussed about Chapter 1, that is Sources. In that, we discussed meaning of sources, importance of sources, then types of sources. We understood that to write history, sources are very important. So in this class, let us discuss about geographical features of India. So the geographical framework, let us discuss. So by learning this lesson, you'll be able to understand the physical features of India. Then you'll be able to locate neighboring countries of India. Then you'll know about that India is a subcontinent and a peninsula. We're all living in this beautiful world. Our life is closely connected with the environment. So the geographical environment has influenced every country and people in the world. There is a close connection between human life and the environment. As we are making an attempt to study history, it is necessary to learn about the geographical environment of our country. So let us know about the geographical environment of our nation. India is a nation which is located in the continent Asia. It is located toward the south of the continent Asia. This you must be knowing. So, India is a peninsula. What is a peninsula? A peninsula is a landmass which is surrounded by water on its three sides. So, even India is surrounded by three water bodies. They are There are three oceans which surround India. So towards the east we have Bay of Bengal, towards the west we have Arabian Sea, and towards south we have Indian Ocean. So hence India is a peninsula. Then India is a subcontinent. What is a subcontinent? A subcontinent is a large land mass. So it is somewhat smaller than a continent. So subcontinent is part of a larger continent. It is a part of a larger continent made up of number of countries that form a large mass of land. Here in this picture you can find a large mass of land. So it has many countries. So Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh. So it's a large mass of land, large land mass. So we call it as a subcontinent. So India is a subcontinent. So India shares its border, that is its boundaries, with Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. So even these countries are our neighboring countries. Even Sri Lanka is our neighboring country. So now you understood that India is a subcontinent, it is a peninsula, it is located in the continent Asia, the two to the south of Asia. So it shares its boundaries with Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nepal, China, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. So it is surrounded by three water bodies, that is three oceans surround our country. They are Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, and Indian Ocean. So if we come to India, at present there are 28 states and 8 union territories are there. So state of Jammu and Kashmir has been divided into two union territories last year. They are Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. That's why at present we have 28 states and 8 union territories. So before that, we had 29 states and 7 union territories. Now you should not forget this. At present, we have 28 states. Jammu and Kashmir is not a state. Now it has been divided into two union territories. So they are Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Let us understand the geographical features of India. So, the geography of a land often has a powerful impact on its history. So, geography was one of the important factors that influenced the location of early settlements around the world. All the early civilizations, namely those of Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Indus, and China, were located in and around river valleys. So, the history of the Indian subcontinent has also been influenced by the physical features of the land. So, let us discuss the physical features of India. So, India's geographical features comprise the Himalayan mountains, the Indo-Gangetic plain in the north, and towards the south we have Deccan Plateau and the coastal plain. So in this picture you can observe the different colors have been used to locate different parts of the nation. So blue is for Himalayan ranges. Here this green is for northern plains. Here we have used this green for coastal plains. Sorry, Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats, and here only we can locate the coastal plains. So let us discuss in detail. Himalayan mountains. So in this picture you can see snow-capped mountains. So what is the significance of Mount Everest? You might have heard about this. So Mount Everest is the highest peak in the world, which lies in the Himalayan mountain ranges. So these are the Himalayan mountain ranges. So the immensely high ranges of the Himalayas stretch across the north of India. The Himalayan mountains are towards the north of India. They have acted as a barrier against invading forces from the north. These Himalayan mountains are protecting us from the external aggressions from the invaders from the foreign lands. They are the high mountain ranges. It is very difficult to pass those main mountain ranges and to come to India. So that's why we call these mountain ranges as the barriers. So they are just like walls which protect our country from the external aggressions. But still, people have traveled in and out of India freely through low-lying points. They are called passes. See, now at present, it is very easy to cross Indian borders and even cross Himalayan mountains. We can use different mode of transportation, but we are in history, we are studying about the life in the past. So in those days, it was very difficult to pass Himalayan mountains, but still people have traveled in and out of India freely through using the passes. Passes are gap between the mountain ridge. So you can see here they are the gap. These gaps were used by the travelers, invaders and traders to travel in and out of our country. So like that many people were who were traders, travelers and invaders have also entered India through these passes. So now you understood about the Himalayan mountains. So there have been very few intrusions on ancient India from the northern Himalayan region. That is because they are very high. Very few attacks have been taken place through the Himalayan region. But the attacks have been mainly from the northwestern side through the valleys of Bolan and Khyber Pass. So The invaders used the Bolan Pass and Khyber Pass to attack on India. This you must know. The next physical feature what we observe in our country is Indo-Gangetic plains. They are also known as the northern plains. They are lying between the Indus and the river Ganga. The northern plains The northern plain is a vast expanse of fertile land. This land, this land is very fertile. What is the importance of fertile land? Why is it required? Fertile land is required to grow food crops. So food is very much needed for all the human beings, even today and even in the past. So without food we cannot survive. So to grow food, fertile land was necessary. So this land, that is the northern plains, was very fertile. So many people even in the past have tried to acquire these acquire this land. So many invaders tried to have control over this land, and they have fought many battles as well. So the dynasties that established control over this fertile Gangetic plain also established empires. So such as I can give examples of Mauryan Empire, Guptas also established their empires. The Indus Valley civilization flourished in this uh, place, and even Vedic period flourished here. So this is the importance of northern plains with respect to history of India. Next is Deccan Plateau. River Narmada separates India into Malwa Plateau and Deccan Plateau. Malwa Plateau is also known as the Central Highlands. The Deccan Plateau is also separated from northern India by the Satpura and Vindhya mountain ranges. So this isolation, you can see here Vindhya mountain ranges. So this isolation enabled the growth of several regional kingdoms such as Cholas, Chalukyas and the Rashtrakutas. So you'll be learning about Cholas, Chalukyas and Rashtrakutas in your next chapters. That's why knowledge of Deccan Plateau is very important while studying history. So next you need to know about the Indian coastline. So Indian coastline is vast. It stretches over 6,100 kilometers. Why is Indian coastline vast? That is because India is a peninsula where three sides of our nation is covered by three oceans. That's why we have a long coastline, so which stretches over 6,100 kilometers. The eastern coastline, so this the blue color shows you the long coastline what we have. So towards the east we have Coromandel coast. This coastline is called as Coromandel coast, and towards the west we have Malabar and Konkan coast. This is known as Malabar and Konkan coast. So then what is the significance of Indian coastline, and what is the importance of this coastline while studying history? This, so in the beginning I explained you that the Himalayan mountains are like wall. They are like barriers. They protect us, our nation, from the external invaders. In the same way, even the Indian coastline, the seas that surround India on three sides have protected peninsular India from attacks. So the long coastline with its natural ports and harbors has also encouraged trade for thousands of years. So we had trade with distant lands like, that is different lands like Rome, Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is today's Iraq. We had trade with Egypt, Southeast Asia. This was possible through the coastline. Then the kingdoms of South India were able to develop strong navies We had strong navies that you are going to study in your coming chapters. So that was because of the coastline and the natural port we had. So foreign trade was carried on in those days only through the sea routes. So that in those days we did not have any other mode of transportation and sea route was common. So trade was done through the sea routes. As a result, port towns flourished. Port towns established. So resulting in the rise of powerful kingdoms in south like the Pandyas, Cheras and the Cholas. So the powerful kingdoms like Pandyas, Cheras and Cholas also flourished in this part of the nation. So this is the importance of Indian coastline and the history regarding this part. So the diversity in the Indian geographical environment has also influenced the lives of communities living here. So we have a diversity, we have different culture, we have different land forms. So as I told you in the beginning, our life is connected with the environment. So we have diversity in every aspect of our life. So despite of the communal diversity, there exists a cultural unity which binds all these diversities. Unity in diversity is the essence of this culture. So now you understood the geographical framework of India to understand the history in a better way. So now you are aware of sources and the types of sources to understand history, and now you are aware of geographical framework of India to understand history in a better way. So in the next classes we will be learning about history of India. So with this I'm going to conclude the class. Thank you for watching. Then the next topic will be continued in my next video. Thank you.